Welcome back to Worthy Wednesdays. Um, I'm sure all of you noticed there wasn't a Worthy Wednesday post last week. That's because I got very bogged down with everything I had going on in life. Specifically, Tuesday night I was in a car accident and I totaled my car. Yay. I've been having a lot of car accidents lately. So, yes, for those of you that know, the Ravage was totaled. And those of you who don't know, the Ravage was the name of my car. I had a RAV4. It's called the Ravage because that's my brand. Ravaging things. I am the violence inherent in the system. So I was in a car accident. I had to deal with all of that. I had to deal with all the homework and everything that I had going on the rest of that week. I now have a new car. Everything is lined up. It's Sunday as I'm filming this. Everything is good. I'm in even more debt than I was before, so that's stellar. Fortunately, the insurance totaled out my car and they paid me for most of my new car, which I have named the SR3 Normandy. For those of you that don't know what that is, feel free to comment below. I'm sure someone will tell you what the Normandy is, and all I have to say about that is Paragon for life. I briefly considered naming it the Mako. But I realized that given the number of accidents that I've had in the last year, that's probably too foreboding. None of that is what I really wanted to talk to you about today. I wanted to talk to you about how sometimes we can get beaten down, and those negative brain goblins, that negative self-talk, those voices of dissent in our minds can tell us that we are less than, that we are inferior, that we are not doing a good enough job because life beats us down. Because we don't have the spoons, we don't have the energy, we don't have the time, we don't have the emotional wherewithal to do the things that we need to do. In addition to the car accident that I was in, I also ran out of my ADD meds 2 weeks ago. So just surviving has been a struggle. Yesterday was the first day that I've been back on them. So life is a lot better now. I can think clearly, which is great. But when things get rough and it's difficult for us to keep up with all the things that we have to take care of in life, it can be really easy to listen to those negative voices in our minds that say, hey, you're not good enough. But you know what? Every single person in this world at some point goes through phases like that, where things happen and things just don't line up the way that we want to. And we have to make adjustments. In the Marine Corps, we were fond of saying that no plan survives first contact with the enemy. And I found that to be 100% true. But you know what else I found to be true? We can adapt. We can adjust and we can move forward. And just because you didn't have your plan work the way that you wanted it to the first time, doesn't mean that you're a failure. It doesn't mean that you're not going to ultimately win the war. You can lose a battle here or there. I struggle with depression. I struggle with an eating disorder. I struggle with gender dysphoria, obviously. I struggle with anxiety and attention deficit disorder. My executive dysfunction is bad. It is really, really difficult. I actually forgot I have kids. And for those of you who are parents, you can imagine how difficult that would be to have happen and how difficult that would be to move through and accept in yourself. That was actually the eye-opener that I needed to get back on ADD meds. Life will beat you down, but it doesn't have to keep you there. And it beating you down doesn't make you less valid or worthy as a person. It doesn't make you less deserving of respect, less deserving of love, or less deserving of any of the good stuff. Okay? Like, you need to understand, guys, or I need you to understand, as your friend, as your mom, that I don't think any less of you if things don't work out right the first time. Maybe you went to school for something and you thought you had your life figured out. Maybe you got out of high school, you went to the military and you thought, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And you got hurt and you got kicked out. Now what? Are you less than because you're not in the military anymore? No. Maybe you went to school for something, vocational school, university, whatever, and you had a particular game plan of how you thought your life was going to play out. And then it didn't. That didn't work out. You're still valid. You're still worthy. And your path is still respectable. Your experience is still respectable. Whether it's a chronic problem that's been happening a lot across your life, or whether you're just in a rough spot, I see you. I respect you, and I'm validating you. You're okay. You're doing your best. I see that you're doing your best. I see that you're trying as hard as you can against the obstacles that are there with you every step of the way. And you're going to make it. You're going to get through this. Okay? You can trust me, because I've been through hell. And I've come out the other side of it. The important thing that I remember whenever things get difficult for me is a life lesson that I learned from a webcomic that I read back when I was in college the first time in the early 2000s. And that life lesson was really simple. If I can count the number of the enemy, then this is a challenge that can be overcome. It is not infinite. These obstacles are not endless. There is a finite, fixed number of them. Eating disorder, depression, anxiety, PTSD, gender dysphoria, executive dysfunction. These are my problems. These are my enemies. And I can count them. And that means I can overcome them. Because that's a limited number of things I have to beat. It's a limited number of fronts that I have to fight a war on. Any challenge can be won, provided the enemy is not limitless. If you wake up and you find yourself struggling to get out of bed, 1 foot on the floor, that's one battle. 2nd foot on the floor, that's the second battle. Brushing your teeth, that's another battle. And maybe that's all the battles you've got in you for the day. That's valid. You're not losing the war. You're gaining ground where you can. You're winning where you can. And I see that and I respect it. And I look at you and I think, wow, you are doing your best. I appreciate you and the effort that you put in. I'm proud of you for the effort that you put in. So I wanted to tell you guys that today. Don't beat yourselves up because things don't work right the first time, or because you don't have the time or the energy or the wherewithal to do all the things that you need to take care of in life. You're doing the best you can, and you're gonna get through this. I love you, and I'll talk to you next week, okay?